Why are so many marriages and families falling apart? And what can you do to prevent that from happening to you? Hi, if you have no idea who I am, my name is Claudiu Manea. I'm a psychologist and a therapist. And for the past 10 years, I've been helping families grow stronger together and function better together. Now, there's this quote that I really like, and it's from Tolstoy, and it says that happy families are all alike. Unhappy families are unhappy each in their own way. Now, why do I like this quote quite a bit? And why do I always come back to it? Because in my work as a couples and family therapist, I have seen this principle play out over and over again. And the fact of the matter is that whenever you look at a marriage or at a family that doesn't work, that doesn't function, that doesn't function well, there are a couple of things wrong with that situation, and the things that are wrong with it are not so infinite as you might think. It boils down to just a couple of things that are not working properly, and that if addressed can really change how that family functions. And I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. The first one being poor communication. And I know that it's almost a cliche to say that, oh, communication is key, but it really is key. And when you look at marriages or families that do not function, you can see that communication is broken down. And it's not just between the husband and the wife, it's between parents and children, it's between the children themselves, it's between the husband and the wife, of course, and it's across all levels and across all roles, if you want. So that's one. Another reason and another phenomena that's really apparent in families that do not function is a lack of intimacy. And when I say lack of intimacy, I'm not just talking about sexual intimacy, because yes, of course, sexual intimacy is important, but I'm not talking about just that. Intimacy is important all around, and there are more than one type of intimacy. And I'm just going to give you two more examples. There is emotional intimacy and there is financial intimacy. Now, this idea of financial intimacy might sound surprising to you, but financial intimacy is really important to have in a family in order for that family to function good, and in order for those family members to function good together. And the third thing that's really apparent in families that do not function is that they have grown apart. So I like to say that life has taken them by surprise, and stuff happened. They focused on the wrong things, or they focused on the wrong things for too long or too much, and they have grown apart from each other. And all of these three things combined lead to family members feeling disconnected from the family and from each other. So, as you can see, this leads to, as you can imagine, this leads to bad decisions further down the line. So, a family in this situation, the situation in which it is not functioning, the members of that family are not content, this leads to poor decisions. For instance, cheating or getting a divorce because we are not happy, or just sticking to it but being miserable together. And there is like you probably know, there is a growing epidemic of families falling apart through divorce, mostly, but there is a parallel epidemic going on right now of really unhappy families and really unhappy marriages. And in order to fix that, we need to focus on what it is that really drives the change, because not everything we do is going to achieve what we want to achieve. And that's actually a really common problem that I see with people that I work with in couples therapy or family therapy, is that they actually pinpoint the solution pretty accurately, but they do a lousy job of coming up with with an appropriate solution. So you might pinpoint correctly that the problem is communication, but if you come up with the solution that, oh, he needs or she needs to talk to me more, then you've done a lousy job of finding the solution. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because the framework that I have come up with, which is called the gold method, makes you stick to what is really important and to what actually works and to what actually is going to drive the change. It's not about focusing on everything, because you cannot focus on everything, and you are going to simply exhaust your energy if you try to do that, and you're not going to achieve much. And the goal method, if you've watched if you know anything about that, is an acronym, and it stands for the 4 principles that it embodies. Gold meaning God, order, legacy, and devotion. And these 4 principles, when correctly implemented, are the things that are really going to drive the change inside your family. When you are bringing God into your family, you are placing your family in the correct hierarchy and in the correct structure, because your family isn't the destination in and of itself. The family that you have is actually a vehicle. So by bringing God into your family, you are actually aligning your family with the divine order of things. And moving on to the principle of order, the principle of order doesn't just stand for the divine order. It stands for order in your lives and in your family, because the tendency of everything around us is to fall apart unless there is some intelligent energy that intervenes and changes that tendency. And the predilection for things to fall apart also applies to your family. It also applies to the relationships inside your family. So if you do not intervene with some sort of input, the tendency of any relationship is to fall apart, and it's to eventually become disconnected from each other. Like I said, the disconnection as an effect. And order puts things in place and makes sure that you are actually focusing on the things that matter. The third principle is the principle of legacy, and that is about again, not seeing your family as a destination, but rather as a milestone on a continuum. So you and your family haven't appeared out of nowhere, and you are going somewhere. So this principle of legacy is about viewing your family as part of something bigger. Again, like I said, putting the family in a correct hierarchy and in a correct structure. And the fourth principle is the principle of devotion, and it's about really committing to the things that matter. And if you do not have devotion, and if you do not implement devotion inside your family life, you are not going to beat disconnection. You are not going to improve communication. You are not going to improve intimacy between family members. And you are certainly not going to prevent growing apart. So that's why I say that these four principles are key to having a happy family. And going back to the Tolstoy quote, that quote is actually the beginning phrase of the Anna Karenina novel. And that quote has actually become known as the Anna Karenina principle, which is used throughout science, for instance, in statistics. And it goes something like, there are many ways in which something can go wrong, but there is mostly just one way in which something can go right, or there is just one way in which something can function. Now, calling it the Anna Karenina principle is not entirely accurate, because Tolstoy didn't discover this principle. This principle was discussed by Aristotle, for instance, in his Nicomachean Ethics treaty. So it's not something new, it's not something that Tolstoy discovered. However, it is a principle that stands true throughout time, that there are many ways in which something can go wrong, but one way in which something can really go right. And like I said, in my experience and in my point of view, the goal method is that way in which a family can go right. And it is making you focus on just the things that are really going to make the difference, and that are really going to push the change inside your family. So if you want to hear more about that, if you want to explore the goal method into more depth, I have a free seminar that I have made available to you. You can find the link in the description or the profile, depending on where you're watching this. And if you join, I'll see you on the inside, that we can talk more about that. Either way, whether you decide to join or not, keep in mind this idea that there are any number of ways in which something might not work or might crash, and there is usually just one way in which it's going to work. And keep that in mind, because it applies to a lot of situations in our lives. It certainly applies to our families, but it applies to more than just our families. So keep that in mind, it's going to serve you at some point. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell so you get notified whenever I post something else. Don't forget to join the seminar, like I said, if you are interested in learning more about the gold method. Either way, thank you for taking the time to listen to this, and especially for making it to the end. And I hope you have a great day moving forward. Thank you. Bye.